I need to tell you something that I genuinely wish someone had sat me down and explained clearly years ago. Before I spent 24 years watching it happen to people I cared deeply about. I'm Carol Ann Mitchell. I'm 66 years old. I spent 24 years as a retirement and estate planning attorney right here in Scottsdale, Arizona. I helped over 600 families navigate the transition into retirement. And 8 months ago, I finally took my own advice and retired myself. And right now, I'm sitting here with my coffee mug. Yes, the one my grandkids picked out that says, "World's Okayest Grandma." And I need to talk to you about something that is affecting people in our age group at a scale that most people have absolutely no idea about. Here's the number I need you to sit with for a moment. Americans over 60 lose more than $3 billion every single year to phone-based scams. 3 billion. With a B. And the fastest growing category within that number isn't someone asking for your credit card number. It's legal scams. People calling and pretending to be attorneys, court officials, IRS agents, Social Security representatives. People calling to tell you that there is an active warrant for your arrest, that your benefits are being suspended, that you owe back taxes that must be paid today or you will face criminal prosecution. And here's what started to keep me up at night in the last few years of my practice. Smart, careful, sophisticated people are falling for these calls. Not because they're not intelligent, but because these scammers have figured out something about human psychology that most of us don't fully understand about ourselves. And there is one setting on your smartphone, one toggle that takes 30 seconds to find, that can block the vast majority of these calls before they ever reach you. Most people have never turned it on. Yours is probably set to off right now. Stay with me, because by the end of this conversation, you're going to know exactly what to look for, why it matters more than you think, and what to do about it today. What happened by around 2015 was something that fundamentally changed the landscape of fraud. Legal scams. Calls that didn't try to excite you with prizes or opportunities. Instead, they terrified you with consequences. They called not to offer you something, but to threaten you with something. Specifically, legal jeopardy, arrest warrants, criminal prosecution. And that threat turned out to be devastatingly effective against exactly the demographic that had the most accumulated assets to protect and the most invested in their financial security. I watched this shift happen in real time with my clients, and I have to tell you, it took me a while to fully understand what we were dealing with. I remember this so clearly. It was the fall of 2016, and I got a call from a man I'll call Richard. Richard was 62 years old, retired engineer. Careful, methodical, the kind of man who did his own taxes every April and had a spreadsheet for every financial decision he'd made in the past decade. He had about $680,000 in his 401k. His mortgage was paid off. He was doing everything right. He called me at 4:15 in the afternoon, and I could hear in his voice immediately. It was this strange, flat, disconnected quality, the voice I had learned over years to associate with something having gone terribly wrong. And he said, "Carol, I think I almost made a terrible mistake." He had received a call that morning. The caller ID on his phone showed U.S. Treasury Department. The man on the other end was calm, formal, bureaucratically precise. He told Richard that his name had appeared in a federal financial investigation, that a warrant had been issued, that if Richard wanted to address this before it proceeded to criminal prosecution, he needed to pay a processing settlement of $14,200 by 5 o'clock Eastern that day. Richard started pushing back. He said, "The IRS sends letters, they don't call." The scammer said, "We're not the IRS, sir. We're the Treasury Criminal Investigation Division. This is an active criminal matter." Richard said, "I want to call you back on a verified government number." The scammer provided a number, a fake callback line routed back to their own operation. Richard said, "I need to speak with my attorney first." And the scammer said, almost gently, almost kindly, "Absolutely, you're right, sir. But once this proceeds to our legal processing department, my ability to intercede on your behalf ends. The window closes at 5 o'clock. Richard called me at 4:15. He had been on the phone with these people for nearly an hour. He was 8 minutes from leaving for the bank. I want you to let that land. Because Richard was not a naive person. He was a man who had managed complex technical projects for 35 years. He had reviewed contracts, navigated corporate bureaucracy, filed his own taxes for decades. And he nearly handed $14,000 to a stranger on a phone. What happened to Richard was not about intelligence. It was about something much more fundamental to how our brains work under perceived threat. These scammers know, and they are explicitly trained to understand, that fear of legal consequences activates a physiological stress response that genuinely impairs rational thinking. The part of your brain responsible for analysis and skepticism goes quiet when your survival instincts kick in. They are not trying to fool your brain. They are trying to bypass it entirely. And with enough specific, official-sounding procedural detail delivered with calm authority, they can accomplish that bypass with almost anyone in the right or wrong moment. You see what I'm saying? This isn't about being fooled, it's about being flooded. And the reason this is so important to understand is that knowing the mechanism actually helps. When you know that fear is the weapon, you can recognize fear itself as the warning signal instead of the call to action. Now here is the technology piece that most people genuinely haven't absorbed yet. The caller ID on your phone, the name and number that appears when someone calls, can be fabricated. Not by sophisticated hackers with government-grade equipment, by anyone running one of these operations using widely available and inexpensive software. They can make any number appear on your caller ID display. The Social Security Administration, the IRS, your local county courthouse, Medicare, your own bank. They have used this technology to make calls appear to come from a grandchild's real cell phone number. "Grandma, I'm in jail. Please don't call Mum. I just need you to wire bail money." And the grandmother's caller ID shows her actual grandchild's name and number. That is documented. Caller ID means almost nothing anymore. I know that is unsettling to hear because we've spent decades trusting that our phones tell us who's calling. That trust is being systematically and deliberately exploited. If you take nothing else from this conversation, please take that. The name and number on your screen is not reliable proof of who is actually on the other end. I had a client I'll call Barbara. She came to me after the fact, and after the fact is always the hardest part of this work. Barbara was 68 years old, retired school principal. She received a call that showed her county courthouse as the caller. The man told her she had missed jury duty and a warrant had been issued. He had her full name, her address, her date of birth. He said the only way to resolve it was to post an immediate bond of $9,000 in gift cards. Barbara drove to 3 stores. She bought the gift cards. She called back and read the numbers into the phone. Then she called her daughter. $9,000. Gone. And Barbara said something I have never forgotten. I knew something felt wrong. But the courthouse name was right there on my phone. I thought, why would that be fake? Phones tell you who's calling. That's what they do. The Federal Trade Commission confirms in their data year after year, people over 60 are the primary target of phone-based fraud operations. Not the most likely to be deceived, but the most deliberately targeted. And that distinction matters because the volume of these calls is staggering. These operations are not making a handful of calls. They are running automated systems that dial thousands of numbers a day, and they have identified our demographic, men and women in their late 50s, 60s and 70s, as the highest value target pool. We tend to have more accumulated assets, more to lose, more to protect. And we were raised in a culture where official legal authority carries real weight, where a call from a government agency means something that demands a response. That instinct served us well in countless legitimate situations throughout our lives. It is now being turned against us, with a level of precision that I find genuinely alarming. I mean, I spent 24 years as an attorney, and I will tell you plainly, the psychological sophistication of these operations has outpaced what most people understand about them. Which is exactly why we need to talk about this. This is what I need you to actually do. Pick up your phone after this video ends. If you have an iPhone, open Settings, scroll down to Phone, and look for Silence Unknown Callers. Turn it on. What this does is send any call from a number not saved in your contacts directly to voicemail, silently. Your phone doesn't ring. You never have the chance to answer in a rushed or vulnerable moment. If the call is legitimate, the caller will leave a voicemail. Your doctor, your bank, your Medicare provider, your insurance company. They leave messages because they want to reach you. Scammers move on to the next number. If a scammer does leave a message, you can listen to it calmly, find the official number for that agency on their actual website, and call back through the verified channel at your own pace. For Android users, open your phone app, go to Settings, and look for Spam and Fraudulent Calls, or Caller ID and Spam. Make sure all protection features are fully enabled. Google has a built-in call screening tool that can intercept unknown calls and ask the caller to identify themselves before your phone even rings. If they can't or won't state their name and purpose clearly, the call ends without ever disturbing you. This technology is free. It's on most Android phones, and most people don't know it exists. But here is what I need to be very clear about. The setting is necessary, but not sufficient. These operations adapt constantly, which is why you also need the foundational knowledge that I gave every single client in my final years of practice. Here is the core legal truth. Real courts, real government agencies, and real attorneys do not initiate legal proceedings by calling you on your cell phone and demanding immediate payment. They do not. The IRS sends certified mail. Social Security communicates through letters. Courts serve process through formal, documented channels. If you receive a call from someone claiming legal authority, telling you there is a legal emergency that must be resolved today, by phone, with immediate payment, that call is not real. It does not matter what the caller ID shows. It does not matter how official the person sounds. 100% of the time, that is a scam. I am telling you this as a licensed attorney with 24 years of direct experience. Every single time. Here is the complete playbook. First, turn on Silence Unknown Callers on iPhone or enable Spam Protection on Android. Do this today. Second, never call back on a number the caller gives you. Look up the agency's official number yourself. irs.gov, ssa.gov, medicare.gov, and call through the official channel. Third, gift cards are never a legitimate payment method for any legal obligation. No court, no government agency, no legitimate attorney, ever. If someone tells you to pay a legal obligation in gift cards, hang up immediately. Fourth, treat urgency as a warning signal, not a call to action. Real legal processes give you time to consult with an attorney and verify information. If a caller says the window closes in 1 hour, they are handing you the proof that they are lying. Fifth, tell someone you trust before any of this happens to you. Tell your spouse, your adult children, a close friend. If I ever call you saying I need to send money immediately to resolve a legal situation, slow me down. Make me wait 24 hours. Help me verify. Because in the middle of a manufactured emergency, even the most rational person can lose their footing. A calm, informed voice on your side can make all the difference. Here is what I want to leave you with. I have sat across a conference table from people who did everything right for 40 years. Saved carefully, planned thoughtfully, made patient, disciplined decisions. And then, in one 15-minute phone call, lost a significant piece of what they built. Not because they were foolish, because they were human. And because someone with practiced, deliberate expertise in exploiting human psychology found the right moment and the right pressure point. You deserve to keep what you built. You worked for it. You planned for it. You sacrificed for it. So turn on that setting today. Share this with someone you love who needs to hear it. And if a call ever comes that makes your heart rate spike and tells you there is no time to think, wait. Just wait. Real legal problems, without exception, give you time to breathe, verify, and call someone you trust first. And if the caller says there isn't time for that right there is your answer. This is educational content, not legal or financial advice. I don't know your specific situation, and I encourage you to consult with a qualified professional who does. But please, take care of yourselves. You have earned that right many times over.